Afternoon. Well, live in my kitchen, making the tea. Happy days. Oh, all right, we're going to talk about what's it all about? I can't remember what it's all about. It's all about curiosity and decisiveness. That's what I'm talking about today. It's very busy here where I am. My neighbour's moving, so it's quite busy. Anyway, it's November, so I've got a mince pie, so that's all right, isn't it? Like a mince pie. I've gone for a supermarket mince pie. Waitrose, other supermarkets are available. All butter. It's kind of quite unhealthy, but very nice. And anyway, I've got a question. There's a few people on, so I've got a question, a very important question today. Because we're kind of coming out of final lockdown, really. I hope it's final lockdown anyway. So my question today is, I'm sure we've all had a takeaway or two over the lockdown. And my question today is, in 2019, how much did Britain spend on takeaways in 2019? So it's going to be way more this year, but in 2019, how much did Britain spend on takeaways? That's my question. So type your answer in, and then I'll tell you at the end. How much do you reckon Britain spent on takeaways? And I think it's quite a lot of money. So it is quite a big figure. So I don't know if Crofty's on, but you'll probably be quite close. Yeah, let me tell you, Clara, it is noticeably more than that. So I'll let you have another guess. Because I'm starting to think my road has done that. So it's quite a lot of money. So if anybody else wants to guess, how much has Britain spent on how much did Britain spend on takeaways in 2019? How much is the takeaway market? That's probably not just deliveries, in fairness. That is takeaways. So anyway, I'll leave that. I hope someone else answers, Clara, or you'll win with a guess, really. Well, I might have a little bite just before we start. So we're going to do curiosity and decisiveness. So last week we did vulnerability and confidence. So we're talking a lot about pairings of things. 500 million. Oh, well, yeah. It's not too shabby, I guess, but it's quite under. I'll be fair. So so we're talking about these pairs of things that are kind of paradoxically both needed. And the one I'm talking, or the two I'm talking about today, about decisiveness and curiosity. And I think certainly, when I started talking about leadership and management, people would always talk about decisiveness. You've got to be a good decision maker. You've got to be right there. You've not got to be afraid to implement it. And I don't dispute that. You do need to be decisive, but there's times when you have to be curious. So from a decision making point of view, we have to work out how we're going to decide things. We're going to also think about when we're going to decide and how often we need to decide, because decisions can change. I think it's important, whether we're leaders or not, that we recognise that we don't always have to just stick with that one decision. But of course, we do need curiosity in our decision making. We need to make sure that we've kind of got everything. Now, there's a really great book called Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I've probably mentioned that before on some of these T's at threes. But Kahneman talks about how our brain works, and sometimes it will go very quickly and make snap decisions, which can sometimes be good, like perhaps when you're putting clothes on in the morning. But sometimes it's not good, and you have to go through a real process. And with that as well, you can start getting curious about stuff. So it's important that as a leader, we're not just going in with a predetermined idea. That's the thing. So we collect ideas. We certainly do that. We allow our curiosity to be there. And perhaps the final decision is made quite quickly. That's one bit of decision making. But decisiveness in things like sport, I just see that comment about football there. We want quite snap decisions in sport. And I think it's kind of associated there with that, decisions in tough times and all that kind of stuff, like get it right in there. But of course, in your decision making as well, you've kind of got to be ready to change. You've got to be ready to do something different. And that's where the curiosity comes in. Now, thinking about how we might make decisions, well, because we always like grids and charts and things like that, we can put in things like, what are the pros and cons of my decision, much like we would do with personal kind of ideas and thoughts. But equally, we could do something as simple as like a hassle impact grid. So how much hassle is the decision going to have on us? And what's the impact of the decision? Because sometimes this is just a short decision, one-off. That's the kind of decision we can make quite quickly. So there's some of the kind of things about decisiveness. And it was often seen as a really critical skill required by leaders, business people. Now, over time, and certainly in the 21st century, more and more times now, people are talking about curiosity. And I remember I did some work a little while ago, and it said, take things on with the curiosity of a child. And when you think about that colossal amount of learning a child takes on in their early years, I think that's where curiosity really helps us and understands, they're not afraid to look under the rock, and they're not afraid to try things and put things in their mouth just to see what they taste like. Whereas perhaps our decision-making process later prevents us from doing that. But that kind of innocence of youth makes them curious. And I think sometimes we have to do that a little bit in work. And how do we become more curious? What is it we do? I'm not suggesting we just eat things that look weird or look under rocks all the time. But I think we have to be more engaged. And when I say engaged, I'm just reading again something, and it said be engaged rather than engaged. So engage, so bring things in from other people. Go outside. I said this before, there's so many generations at work at the moment. So can we utilize all of those skills? Look outside your own business for ideas. Where do you go for ideas? Go shopping for ideas. Get curious about other organizations' work. Things like art become important. That's where curious people kind of gravitate to. And I read somewhere that Steve Jobs of Apple, he didn't just want to create a phone, he wanted to create a thing of beauty. And that's about him getting curious. So to be curious, you've got to look to change things. You've got to do something new. Do something that's maybe a complete change. Even companies like Whitbread, when they went out, dropped out of the brewing business, they went into Premier Inn. That's curious. That's thinking, okay, what can we use our supply chain for? How can we maximize that kind of stuff? And I remember a long time ago, I've got an old bank colleague on as well, doing some work for the bank, and we did some work in a branch that was in a shopping centre. And this is way back. This is way back when branches shut at 3 and half day closing on a Wednesday and all that kind of stuff. And we went into this branch. It was in a shopping centre, and they had to do shopping centre hours, which was a real novelty in those days. And I remember we sent some of the guys out, and we said, well, go into another place and see what attracts you about that shop. Now, one of the guys went into the Disney store. Now I'd like to think it was because he was curious, or it could have been that it was a very close shop and he just wanted to go over there. But what he came back with was, we said, where did you go? And he said, I went to Disney store. I said, oh, well, why did you go there? And he said, I like going in there. He said, because it always makes you feel quite happy. And he said, it's always really colourful. There's always really good music playing, or, fun music, happy. And he said, there's always someone on the door who looks genuinely pleased to see me. And so what the bank tried to do was bring that curiosity into their own organisation, play some music, have somebody who just greeted people. Of course, we couldn't have cuddly toys or anything like that, but it's just what's attracting people, and can we bring that in? That was one of the good things I saw. Now, as curious people, they challenge, they do things differently. And this guy was reading, he realised that the individual people were struggling to sell. So small businesses, like, let's say an artist couldn't sell a picture because they didn't have a credit card machine, a card facility. And so I'm sure something that we've all touched in on over the past 6 months is something called Square, which is something that small businesses and individuals can get so people can pay by card. And that's that curious thing. Okay, what is it that's different? What can I change? How can I challenge the norm? Get curious, make the decision, implement. Curious leaders learn. They learn from their own industry. They learn from customers. They learn from their product, and they learn from other people. Curious leaders get stuff wrong. Curious leaders fail because they're willing to try something that hasn't been tried before. They wonder, they question, but they make decisions. Curiosity is not procrastination. Curiosity is trying to understand what is going on and where it's happening. They take risks and they fail. They would sooner fail big than consistently succeed small. So they're always willing to take that leap. Our curious leaders are the Polos, the Columbuses of the 21st century, those people who explore, push the boundaries back. We have to be decisive, yes, but we have to do it in harmony with curiosity. All right. Now, we're going to follow this on next week, these pairs, and we're going to talk about empathy and determination. There's a few people dropped in and out, but I don't know if anybody else wants to blast a guess up. How much did we spend on takeaways in Britain last year? That's my question. If anybody wants to quickly type an answer, just while I have a little slip of tea, and otherwise I'll tell you. Because staggeringly, the takeaway market in the UK last year, very hard, 25 million. So far under, the takeaway market in the UK last year was £8.5 billion. 8.5 billion is a truly staggering figure. I hope I've got it right. I did definitely Google it this morning. Anyway, next week, empathy and determination. We certainly have needed both of those. It's a mad amount, isn't it? We certainly need both of those over the last 8 months. Have a great afternoon. Have a great week, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. I really appreciate it.